Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about the 9 billion shares unsettled, the AMC swap contracts, infinite short losses, and many more in this video. First, we take a look at this. You guys can see from this image here in terms of the shares unsettled in the DTCC. Now, this is a comparison of both AMC and GameStop, but I want to put my focus on AMC here. Now, already you're looking at an extremely crazy number. 555 million shares unsettled in the DTCC. The notional value of all shares unsettled comes to $9.6 billion. So the notional amount from July 2021 is $8 billion plus. The average combined price of all shares held is $8.72, and the shares held as far back as 2018. Now, this is what I want to talk about, and we have always said the synthetic shares that exist out there for AMC is far more than GameStop. And the reasoning for that is various, of course, different reasonings. Firstly, we talked about this. When you take a look at in terms of the VAR post for Robinhood, AMC was worth more than GameStop. But another important factor is the fact that AMC shares are obviously cheaper than GameStop. You guys can see this. The average combined share price of all shares held is $22 for GameStop, but $8.72 for AMC. So it's obviously cheaper to get shares of AMC than it is for GameStop. And obviously with that in mind is why we're seeing more AMC shares that are out there. Now, when you take a look at the comparison between, the price here, $8.72 and $22, it's just less than a 3x. But yet the share here is of course way more, 555 million in comparison to 14. And again, the value is different as well. But like I said, this isn't a battle between the two. This isn't, talking about that AMC is better than GameStop because there are more shares unsettled. But like we've always wanted to highlight, there's been people who said that only GameStop will squeeze and not AMC because of everything that's happening with GameStop. But when you understand in the extent of truly how many shares are unsettled for AMC, you understand that AMC will also squeeze as well. Now, I wanted to quickly highlight something. There has been people who's been tweeting this on X, on Twitter, and have gotten their account banned. But again, we are obviously here to spread every info that we can get about this. So I want to post it out there. So if this video gets removed, make sure you understand, what's happening. Make sure you share it, whether it's the video, whether it's the tweet that you'll find, to make sure everyone obviously understands what's happening. I'm also at risk of potentially getting this video removed or the channel terminated. But again, we have to make sure that we understand exactly what's going on. Now, more about, in terms of why we're seeing so many FTDs. So recently, the swap contracts of AMC has been floating around. And you can see the conversation between Grok. Could these swap contracts be internalized transfers of FTDs to off-market? And could that free up an equities lending supply? And now what you can see is this. Swap contracts and FTDs. Swap contracts could theoretically be used to internalize transfer of failures to deliver off the market. So FTDs obviously occur when a seller fails to deliver securities to the buyer by the settlement date. Now, this is what we can see. And you can see through swap contracts, it can obscure the true volume of FTDs, making them less visible to regulators and market participants. This could be a method to manage or hide these failures, potentially affecting transparency in the market. Now, one thing you will know is that there is plenty of swaps out there for both AMC and GME, and that's something that we obviously know. We've seen plenty of times of AMC swaps expiring, of GME swaps expiring, and we also know is that precisely because of these toxic swaps that Archegos went bankrupt, that Credit Suisse went bankrupt, and UBS is obviously suffering heavily because of that. And so, this is why we know that there exists so many FTDs out there. And it's also why we've seen so many swaps of AMC out there. Furthermore, you can see this. Equities lending supply. If FTDs are moved off market, it might free up the equities lending supply. Here's how. When an FTD occurs, the security might be borrowed to fulfill the delivery obligation. By moving these FTDs off market through swaps, the demand for borrowed securities might decrease, thus freeing up the supply of securities available for lending. And this is exactly everything that we've covered in the past. But essentially what we can understand here is in terms of why we have seen the existence of swaps, but not only that, why we've seen such a large amount of swaps that are out there in the market for AMC and for GME. Now, going back to this, when we understand in terms of what swaps can be used for and in terms of why FTDs are out there, we can then understand the seriousness of this whole situation. Like I said, both the squeeze theory, the squeeze thesis exists both for both AMC and GameStop. This isn't a competition, but it's to really understand the scale of things, and it's to understand the potential of why AMC is able to squeeze to such a high amount, which we'll be talking about later on in this video. But again, it's just understanding and taking it in that over 555 million shares unsettled, and again, this could still be more out there. This number could easily twofold, threefold, or even more than that. And so we can obviously see the value. And to exist out there 9.6 billion, and this is an understanding of what's at stake and what, how corrupt and manipulated the AMC share price truly is. Now, in case you missed it, yesterday we talked about the Federal Reserve just telegraphed the major market correction is imminent. And that's because we are seeing how there are hedge funds out there who are extremely over leveraged, but they don't have the capital to back it up. And just to understand, there are 900 FICC participants, many who are short. They all meet the minimum collateral requirements. Group collateral is used to avoid single participant margin call default. $1 million minimum each pool gives them $1 billion collectively to save short sellers during a crash. And so this is just to understand in terms of when you see who's involved and you realize that most of their positions are short, and that the fact they are able to survive because of these kind of safety nets that exist out there, that are obviously the money that's there to help save them. But like you said, it is only inevitable for it to crash because there is plenty of short sellers, and we talked about this. They have borrowed $5.8 trillion, and that's how over leveraged they are, but they do not have that much money. And so at any point, one of their positions goes wrong, one of their management goes wrong, and they don't have the money, and they no longer can find money anywhere else, you can see how that $5.8 trillion could easily come crashing down. So we're also seeing this right now, and this is to talk about why they're worried about AMC, why we're seeing these FTDs right now, and we're only going to be seeing more. Firstly, from Seeking Alpha. Now, what we're seeing right now is that AMC Entertainment improved box office expectations for 2025. So what's interesting about this is, firstly, we're seeing more and more news articles right now in terms of slowly shifting their views on AMC. Now, that's obviously a good thing. It could also be viewed as a bad thing. The reason why I say it's a good thing is because more and more people are realizing in terms of how much potential AMC has and how institutions are willing to acknowledge that. The bad thing is we don't know how, what potentially there could be another plan behind them, because we have always seen how they've bashed AMC. So it's surprising to see them suddenly talk good about AMC. But then when you understand, and this is what we talked about in terms of why there exists FTDs and why the situation is so big, you can see this. The risk nature of a short positions are infinity losses. I'll definitely not be the first one selling during MOAS. What about you? And so what you can see is the price of AMC falling, yet the OBV stays the same. Now, this is a picture we've shown in the past, but it's important to revisit this. And for the people whose first time maybe seeing this picture, essentially what this is showing is that the OBV is essentially showing, have people been selling their shares or are people buying more shares? And what you can see is that under normal circumstances, when the price goes up, the OBV is going up. And that's very simple to understand. The more people who buy these shares, the higher the price will go. And you can see how it reflects that in the first kind of section. And this is obviously back from 2021. You can see when AMC first had this spike up, the OBV spiked up. And then when AMC had this second spike up, the OBV spiked up. Again, very simple to understand. More shares are being bought, more people are buying, and that's reflecting the OBV, and therefore the price goes up. But then it's what happens afterwards, where we're seeing the price goes down, but yet the OBV isn't going down. So what that means is that no one is selling, but yet the share price is going down. How is that possible? Well, then we go back to what we talked about at the very start in terms of understanding how these FTDs are obviously existing, how they're obviously used to manipulate. And the reason for this is simple. Look, FINRA, someone is paying $142,000 per AMC shares. And so this is something that we've seen in the past in terms of understanding what shorts were willing to pay, and the fact that they're willing to pay for this back in 2022 obviously gives us an understanding of why there exist so many FTDs and why they always feel the need to suppress it. And guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.